Okay.
Okay. All right. We're live. Okay. I'm using Dirt's phrase. We're live. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 89 of Fans of Power. I am Joe Amato, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Tyler T Rex Baker. And T Rex, you had a suggestion that maybe we could have a nice fan appreciation episode with some Q&A, and you brought that up last week. So, well, first, how you doing today?
All right. Funny you said episode 89 because I have a particular blockbuster greatest superhero film of all time behind me that came out in 1989 there. What a
That's a good
coincidence that might be.
coincidence. Yeah, perfect tie-in too. All right.
Yes, but I'm doing quite good, and to commemorate people who listen to us and enjoy getting their weekly dose of just roundtable discussions of Match of the Universe. We want to show our appreciation to our listeners who took time to send us a variety of questions concerning the 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 Motu mythology, the property, a various assortment of questions covering from past, present, future. All it's all over the place. So we before we get going, we want to thank everybody who took the time to send us something they want us to discuss on the show. So we plan to get to everybody today, and if not, we can always do a two-parter like we did almost 2 years ago. So.
All right. Well, we definitely, yeah, there's plenty of questions. Before we start off with, the Q&A, first I want to mention that we have live in the chat room, at least I can see right now, we have JSP. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy the show, and you can always give a question during the show too if you have some things that come through your mind while we're recording. And also, before we do that, might as well just get a couple things out of the way. Of course, we're just very few days away from San Diego Comic-Con. Brian Flynn popped up just a couple days ago with episode 4 of Super 7 Supercast, and he wanted to let everybody know that I believe he said this coming Friday, which would be, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I don't know if it's the 21st, whatever.
I think it's 24th.
Well, right now we're the
That's the
16th.
23rd, I think. Huh?
Well, I mean, it's the 16th today. Today's the 16th.
Okay. I guess
Yeah, so
you go ahead and say. I just know it starts Thursday and goes into Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, not only that, but I just wanted to mention that I think he said this Friday on the 21st of July that they believe they would be shipping out the Ultimates to everybody that's been waiting. So
you're talking about. I'm talking about Sandy. You're talking about Ultimates.
Yes. That's what I was going to get to. First, I want to mention what he said, the Supercast, about what's shipping. So the Ultimates should be shipping this Friday. And also, speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, also in that video, he did mention that they will have some prototypes for Collector's Choice and Club Grayskull. So everybody that was hoping they would be showing stuff for both of those different, subscriptions, yes, they're going to show some things, and hopefully they have some other stuff. Maybe they'll have something for Vintage 5.5 too. So here's crossing your fingers on that. But all right, well now we can get to the Q&A, and if you want, why don't you start off with some of the questions that you got?
The first set, and this listener of ours sent me 4 questions, so I'm gonna start with him. And I know him as Zirak Qureshi. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, but so I apologize if I botched it, but Zirak Qureshi is the best I can pronounce it there. So I hope I did it justice there, bud. But his first one is he wants to know if Joe and I will ever meet up in person and do the podcast.
Oh wow! Well, that would be pretty cool. Everybody knows how I usually don't get to do much traveling. It's just unfortunately, it's I don't want to say because of a lack of funds, but let me just say basically, yeah, lack of funds. I don't really have the money to be getting up. I'm gonna hope it happens sometime. We got to meet up. It'd be great to do a live, podcast. Like you said, in person. But I hope so. I don't know about you, but yeah, for me,
I think. My fun thing. My idea would be to if we were, because to this day we still have not met in person. We've been talking through Skype and Hangouts for over 5 years now.
Yeah.
Just waiting for our opportunity for us to do what we're doing right now, was to do a podcast together. So, we've been pretty content with that, but it would be a great fun thing for me and him to podcast face to face. Like maybe it would be awesome if it was like some sort of like toy convention or some sort of show or something like that, where we not that we're saying like we Fans of Power Podcast, we're going to be in Hall H, okay? Nothing, but just to where there would be a setting there I just think something like that would be kind of cool,
someday maybe
that would you might have something He-Man related there or something. I don't know, but it's always been a fun thing because we've often talked what it would be like when we met. I almost figured it would be like, and we have this like shared idea, like if when we show up, it's like being introduced as professional wrestlers. We have the music cues, the pyro goes off and stuff like that when we're coming to do our recording for Fans of Power Live for the first time or something like that.
Of course, I'd have a different type of mask. Maybe I'd have one of those tight, like, lucha masks, but it would look just like Modulok. I'd still have to be masked, so nobody's going to see me. You wouldn't even see me. Face to face, you still ain't going to see me.
No. Well, that leads to his next question is, will Joe ever do a face reveal?
Oh, hey, probably not. You know what I've joked about? I've said, hey, if they ever reveal meteors for, the classics line, if they ever finally show them, maybe I'll unmask. I've still been toying around with that. Will it happen? I don't know. But otherwise, besides that, probably not.
Yeah, that would be a fair bet to make with people who are quite curious about it, that if meteors are released for purchase for classics, you will reveal yourself.
Yeah, maybe that's a possibility. I might toy around with it. So Z-Rack, I guess anything's possible. If it never happens, well, you're never going to see me. If it does happen with meteors, maybe. So I don't know. Sometimes you want to keep the mystery.
Oh, we could also say, too, if Dylamug gets released through Classics, gets announced next Friday, then Joe will show his face.
Yeah, maybe I'll have a different type of different smile or angry expression or something else for Modulak. But I don't know. We'll keep that going. But, well, thanks, Z-Rack. And what else you got?
See, his third question is, do you think that there will be a Motu show or maybe a Netflix series like the recent Voltron show that's given Voltron a boost and brought it back on toy aisles? Something like this to finally bring more Motu out to retail other than just little figurines and things.
Can I take that real quick? I mean, I love that question, by the way, because, I mean, of course it would be a dream. I don't know all the ins and outs and things like, with Netflix and how, I don't even know how they get paid for these programs. But like, for example, I mean, like Stranger Things, and I got you watching Stranger Things. You got me watching Daredevil. I mean, these are two of the best series I've ever even seen, on TV. And it's like on something called Netflix. I was like, how do they get money for endorsements? There's no commercials. I don't understand the ins and outs, but would it be great? Yes, because they got Castlevania that's just popped up on Netflix in a series. Like you said, there's Voltron. I would love something like that in a new cartoon. I mean, there has to be some kind of media we get because, like you said, it's fantastic going to the store. Don't get me wrong. You got loyal subjects, you got Funko Pop stuff, you got all these different things that are selling out quickly. But it would be nice to give some kind of cartoon and something to come back to give a good surge of new figures, actual action figures that are posing at a good size. Whether it's the 5.5 inch at Super 7 maybe would bring to stores, or the classic style, or something different. But yes, I mean, I'm sure you agree. I would love a new cartoon on Netflix. Netflix is just doing stuff that I've never seen anywhere else. They really have some great things on there.
I honestly, at this point, given how much interference can be done through, it's a prime example because it's the easiest thing to go back to is what happened with the MYP series, where Cartoon Network was constantly changing when it came on. Mattel has got their fingers all over to ensure that, we got to promote the hell out of the Spit Bull and these variants of the Snake Armor characters and all that, stuff like that. Whereas with Netflix, you just release it all. It's not on cable. It's paid for. It's done. Get the full batch of episodes for season 1. Watch it all the way through. I think that would probably be the best outlet for a new He-Man series, simply because of the lack of interference that would come into it. I mean, I'm sure Mattel probably would have some kind of say, but I'd like to think if Netflix were going to approach Mattel's like, look, we'd like to do a more not modernized, because I hate that, because it makes it sound like you're going to try and make it set in current day or something like that, but a current interpretation of the He-Man cartoon through Netflix. It feels like you don't have to worry about the cable, the channel that it would be, played on, flip-flopping around with lack of or virtually no promotion, letting you know when it comes on, and it just suddenly switches nice without telling anybody about it. Or it's, I think Netflix would be the best thing. And honestly, at this point, I would prefer a new cartoon over a movie. I just feel like a new movie is it's so hard to get off the ground, as we preached and preached and preached over and over again. A cartoon, at this point, I think would be a more rational way of thinking of like, look, let's do something new with He-Man, a new cartoon series on Netflix would be fantastic. And actual 2D animation. I don't want to hear any of this nonsense of 3D animation. I feel like a cartoon like that needs to be 2D, and not anime inspired, not to knock anime fans, but just just something that looks like it's paying homage to what's come to us in the past while also being its own thing, at least in style. And hire people who love the property, and not just people who say they watched it as a kid and can't tell you a single episode, not many characters, and can't write a damn good story. People who, they eat, sleep, and breathe and sweat, master the universe. Like it's a property they love inside and out, backwards and forwards. So yes, definitely that one. And his last question to us is branching off from his other questions. What do you think is the state of the Motu movie that's supposed to be released in 2019? It's been in development for a long time. What would you like to see in the movie? Also, which actors would you choose to play the roles?
Oh, wow, that's a doozy. Yeah, because right now in the chat room, that's what JSP was asking about. What he said, do you guys have the same skepticism about a new movie as I do? Well, first, yes, I do, JSP. But no, going over to Z-Rack now that with the movie, it's just don't get me wrong. And I'm not speaking for Tyler because, I mean, he might think the same way as I do, he might not. But as for me, sure, I would love a new Masters of the Universe movie. But I don't get excited because, like, recently now, the same stuff we were hearing just months ago about, hey, there's a new movie that's coming December 18th, 2019. It's like now it's making another round, like a certain maybe a comic book page maybe got it, or, just website got it. And now it's circulating again like it's brand new news. It's the same stuff. And I hate it because I swear it's almost 16 years of we keep hearing it every year. They say, this studio is doing it, it's happening. This studio has wrote a script. This person's directing. And it changes every single time, and it doesn't happen. It's been going on for 16 years of this. Get ready, guys. Get ready, guys. And believe me, I want a movie to happen. But again, I'm not getting excited until I'm in the theater sitting down, and then bam, the trailers for the new Masters of the Universe movie shows up. Then Joe's going to be jumping up, tap dancing, and freaking out. Until that day happens where I see a trailer, I just can't get excited. And as for actors, I don't want named actors. Don't get me wrong, not saying, you can't get named actors for the movies, but sometimes I feel like if I go into a movie with a clean slate, no impression of who these characters are, and I don't have already like, hey, that guy played, I'm going to say it, that guy played Thor, because, they all want everybody who played Thor to play He-Man. Or, hey, that guy was a wrestler, or this movie. It's just like when I went to see any of the Star Wars movies, including the new ones that came out. I don't know these people. But it's a great movie because I'm not thinking it's this person as He-Man. It's just, here it is. That is He-Man. But you know how it is. You get these thoughts in your head. I've seen them in this movie, and for me, I don't want named actors. I mean, you can if you want. Go ahead, put it in there. But I sometimes like having just fresh faces playing, these characters that we want to see in a whole new light and to where I've never seen it. That's just my thoughts. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's what I'd like to see, I guess, as for actors wise.
I honestly, while it's still in Sony's hands, I don't want it to happen. As I've said so many times, you put it in the hands of another, reliable production company, Universal, Fox, not Warner Brothers. Well, yeah, I mean, Warner Brothers is, even though they're completely botched DC, in my opinion, right now, but there's so many more viable, companies that I feel like could purchase the rights, or even production companies, not necessarily the big studios who can distribute the film and with also the film rights as well. But I just feel like it's while it's in Sony's hands, it needs to be dead and buried, and the rights sold to another company who has a better and more reliable track record of like, well, they don't have the problems that Sony does. I mean, I like the two Spider movies they did, but the problems that were with those films, I blame Sony a lot on that.
Okay.
But I don't give credit for those two movies or why I like them. But I just feel like it needs to be moved to another company that has a better track record of releasing good movies, and it is not looked upon as like, you know what, you question everything they do, especially with what they're going to be doing with Spider-Man and certain degrees what they've already done with Spider-Man right now.
Okay.
But as for actors, like, you know, Anthony DeLongis, who we interviewed before, not only is a choreographer to help, you know, actors learn how to sword fight and fight with various weapons, but to bring him on is one of the villains, you know, whether it be Triclops, Ninja, or, you know, clothed up or something like that. And, you know, Mark Strong is Skeletor. I've only seen him in a couple of things, but he's got a good voice. He's got a good demeanor. And he's not like a household name. You know, he's been in movies. Yes, he was in Green Lantern, but he did a good job in that. And I just, yeah, it's just a name. You know, he's not. But I feel like, and there's a lot of underused actors I think would be interesting to see in it. He-Man needs to be an unnamed. It needs to be somebody who doesn't have much of a record in films, who needs to look bigger than your average actor who's in shape. This requires somebody to be larger than life, not a, you know, just some kind of average guy who's in shape who looks like he belongs to more like in a teeny bop vampire movie than most powerful man in the universe. Needs to be a no name. Hiring a very respected actress to play the sorceress, because the sorceress will not be the focus of the story, but you want someone who's very kind and warm and charismatic as the sorceress, but also someone you do not want to mess with. There's so many, and you know, we could always go back and do like a casting call episode of just discussing, right, you know, if we get it done. But those are just some thoughts. It can be done. It can be done right. But David Goyer has done some notable stuff, but I just feel like he's going to be somebody who's just going to pick and choose what he thinks is cool and not really trying to do justice to something that is so simple that nobody seems to be able to crack the code on, because everyone has to make their own damn name on it, instead of giving us what we want, which is the nuts and bolts and the ABCs of a standard He-Man versus Skeletor story.
Yeah. It'd be nice. So, is it going to happen? Probably not, but it would.
No, probably not, and I hope at least not right now. I want it to happen, but not while Sony's got the rights. When Columbia had the rights, Warner Brothers had the rights, DreamWorks had the rights. You know, I think for an actual film, I think it may have been an animated film at that time, but it's changed hands so many times, and it needs to change hands again for at least me to give my, okay, I can't guarantee it's going to be good, but it's in better hands than when it was.
Right. Okay.
So, but Zirak, we thank you for those 4 questions, and they were good questions. Thank you very much, bud.
Yeah, definitely. They were good questions. And I was going to say one quick thing before I get to some of my questions. I want to mention that also Larry Hubbard is in the live chat, and congratulations to you. He was the one that won my original Modulok mask with the trivia question a couple weeks ago.
He's wearing that quite proudly on social media.
Yeah, exactly. He just said, you know, when I was talking earlier about my mask, he said, that's just the serial killer and Joe having to keep his face hid behind the mask. So, well, I always got to hide.
It's like Rey Mysterio podcasting. It's like part of his heritage.
Yeah, there you go. Now I got to take it off. So, all right. Well, I was going to start off with my first question from LJ Fallon. He said, my question is, what is your favorite Masters of the Universe figure growing up, and which is your favorite classic one? He said his favorite vintage one is Ram Man, and his classics is Goat Man. Whew. Man, as for my vintage, that's a tough one. I have so many stories of those figures are the ones I always say.
But you only get one. You got to stick to your guns.
And I'm going to. You're right. You're right. I'm only picking one. I'm not going to do multiples. I'm gonna say Snout Spout, just because beyond having fun squirting and knocking down the enemies or any of the figures I had standing up, it's always that story of my sister, who, you know, older than me, but petrified of spiders, and she had the scream she would do it was shrilling. It would just send chills up your spine. And boy, I knew when it was a spider when I heard that scream. And she would always tell me, get the spider. And the only way I could get that spider up in the corner of like any of the rooms way up on the ceiling was using Snout Spout to squirt him down, and then I'd kill him. So I think Snout Spout has some good memories to me. Beyond playing with my figures, was helping my sister with her arachnophobia. So Snout Spout as for my vintage. As for classics, I'm going, just because I'm a sucker for him because I always called him since I was a kid, was seeing Sky High. Seeing that name that I use as official for the figure, that freaked me out. I couldn't tell you how much I was freaking out when I seen the name that the name I used brought to life. So I think that's just because, well, the attachment I have to that name and that character, Sky High. So for classic Sky High, vintage Snout Spout. What about yours?
Classics Moduloc.
All right.
That one's hard to narrow it down because I tend to lean more towards the villains a little bit more. But Moduloc, because I got him displayed with the Horde and with the Evil Warriors, proudly front and center, next to Blade and Two-Bat and Clawful on the Evil Warriors shelf. But he's my classics one. And as for vintage, man,
It's tough. It's tough.
it's well, I mean, I've got it narrowed down to two, and it's I almost feel like.
Like you said, you got to pick one. It's just how it is.
And I'm trying to decide because I feel like I almost feel like if you saying one of the basic characters is kind of cliche because that's
not bad an attachment to you. If there's a reason, it's not cliche.
Well, it probably, if I really have to think genuinely about the nostalgia and the playtime and the meaning, it would be the original He-Man figure. I came close to saying Cyclone because the sticker, the lenticular sticker, the color scheme, the action feature, it was just something. It was just so much fun to play with, and Cobra Khan as well. But He-Man is, and I still have my original He-Man on the shelf. He's got some color discoloration on his teeth, a little bit on the face, but still in good shape. And I lost the weapons the first day I got him, so I had no power sword or shield or axe for most of my. I had to use Fisto's sword for his power sword. I was like,
"What a rotten kid!"
The movie, so I was like, "Okay, it worked for me."
What a rotten kid! How do you lose the weapons?
I played with He-Man a great deal. I've got a picture of him in a tree when I went to visit family in Richmond. My mom decided to put him in a tree and have me pose next to the tree with He-Man kind of hanging out of the tree, and I'm kind of standing there looking all serious. So I've got a blow up of that in my He-Man collector's room, and that same figure is what I have in there. So it's not cliche because I think people know I'm not about cliches on this show.
No, I like that because I usually don't hear people say He-Man. That's what's cool about it. It's not really cliche because usually if I say, what's your favorite character? They're always going to mention usually a villain because they were into the villains more, or somebody with a really cool gimmick. And you usually don't hear He-Man or hear people say He-Man that much. So I like that you said He-Man. That's different.
And to add to that, my most favorite character I did not own as a kid would be Clawful.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that, LJ. Now, next question. Yes, definitely. Next question from Roy D. Stiffy. Roy said, "Had Masters of the Universe the movie been a success, what would you have liked to have seen in a sequel?" And, well, we've said it on the podcast before, especially after finding out that the movie was a success, but they just didn't have the money to keep it in theaters. And it was actually doing better, like, as the week or a couple weeks went by. They just didn't have the budget to keep it in because they were bankrupt. So you wonder how successful and how much money would have made then. And then definitely there could have been a sequel. As for in a sequel, I would have liked to see maybe the Horde popping up, some of the Horde enemies. I don't know. I know that you've told me before about what they thought they might have had in the works for a sequel or something about. Were you serious when you said Skeletor in a business suit or something?
No, that was Canon had the rights, and because I guess what they produced did not bring home what they wanted, so I guess the 3 weeks it was in theaters was not enough to justify. Well, we have the rights. We're just not going to do these characters in that manner. We're going to bring He-Man to modern day, and we're going to bring Skeletor to modern day, and Skeletor's going to be disguised as a businessman and going to use current. I forgot. He's going to raise an army by coming to our planet in current day as an evil businessman. He-Man comes to Earth. I think Laird Hamilton. I think or Scott Hamilton. He was a surfer. Was going to be cast to play He-Man. And when they scrapped that, that's when the movie Sideboard. They took the costumes that were going to be used, the sets that were going to be used for He-Man, and used that all for Cyborg.
I guess I've never been so excited that a movie did fail. Then not, I mean, you know what I mean, because of you couldn't afford because
it was a horrible idea. Plus, and it's the same people that thought Spider-Man was supposed to be like a a horror movie almost. Didn't know anything what Spider-Man was supposed to be, other than they had the rights for it. Well, if when He-Man was a success, and which kind of makes you wonder if the movie was making money for you, but you couldn't keep it in theaters. All right, we've got the rights. Let's do something completely different with He-Man. And, it's so we're glad that never happened.
Yeah, that would have talk about a disaster, talk about frightening. Yeah, that would have been scary. So, well, I hope we answered your question with that.
But to see a sequel, we got in a sequel. The Snake Men were mentioned, I think, in one of the original scripts, but I would like to have seen Snake Mountain fully explored, more of Castle Grayskull explored, stretch out the battles. You give us a few more heroic warriors. Give us a Fisto, a Clam Champ, a Snout Spout, and mix it up along with more evil warriors. Hell, I'll even take a couple more new evil warriors because the three we were given were awesome. And then throw in, one of the other factions, whether it's the Horde or the Snake Men. In the 87 canon, this is what we're looking at here. Give me one of the two new, evil factions to kind of come in and kind of set up this more even bigger war, because one of them are going to come in and either team up with Skeletor, or it's going to be a three-way battle for Grayskull kind of thing. Keeping it simple, use what you've already used with the Cosmic Key and all that stuff. I still would not push for Orko and Battle Cat because the technology was just not there, and Canon was not going to shell out that kind of money for something like that. So,
no doubt.
Keeping it simple, but giving us what we have, what we kind of already got, but with just more of it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again for that, Roy. Thank you for the question. Now, next question from Stacy Murphy Watson. She asks, why did they never do more in-depth with Despara? Would have been interesting to see her change into an evil She-Ra with an evil Swiftwind and then be saved or convinced she was good. Actually, I mean, I have no clue because, I don't know, anything on that end of what makes anybody, start writing about a certain particular character or stop writing about them. I don't know. I agree. It would have been cool to see, I've seen a lot of fans' drawings of an evil She-Ra. And of course, I've even made some evil She-Ras and some evil Swiftwinds, and I think they would look cool. But as for why they didn't do more with her, I don't have a clue. Maybe they were afraid enough, not enough people knew who this was. Because to some of the average Masters of the Universe fans that I speak with, who love collecting the vintage stuff and maybe aren't too into classics, when they see pictures of Despara, they're like, "Who's that? What's that?" They don't even know her. And I guess to some of the average fans, they don't have a clue who she is. But, sure, it would have been cool to see, I guess, an evil She-Ra, evil Swiftwind, but I don't know. I think, Tyra, because obviously we've seen some of the disasters that were written, like Thundercats and He-Man crossovers, and so I don't even know what they do.
I never thought the character made any sense because he just shows up, and there was no explanation as to, all right, are you retelling the origin of She-Ra, and that Princess Adora was, instead of Force Captain Adora, she was Despara, the daughter of Hordak, or raised by Hordak, and then has some sort of connection to Teela. I'm like, what the hell? I stopped reading not too long after that. I could not figure out what the hell they were doing. I didn't like the direction it was going. And I feel like, like I said, I could not figure out, and by that point I just didn't care anymore. Are you retelling She-Ra's origin? What are you doing? It was almost like, is this like an alternate universe where Teela and Adora knew each other as kids or something? No, it didn't make any sense. And then they tried to include her in the classic comics, which that didn't help either. But, if you were to go in that direction, if you're going to retell the origin of She-Ra, not stray from it, but instead of having her look how she, like when you see her in Secret of the Sword, she's wearing her traditional Adora outfit. But if you were to see her in her Despara outfit as Force Captain Adora, like Adora is her name, the title she's been given is Despara as the Force Captain, I could go with that a little bit more, but it just felt like it was so out there, and I refused to read Eternity War. I've refused to keep reading the crossover with DC and He-Man because I hated what DC was doing. I hated everything that DC had done with He-Man in the last few years. So everything just bombed to me. I understand that she's obviously quite popular with He-Man and She-Ra fans, but what they were trying to do, it just didn't make any sense to me. So if you were going to I guess I'm getting too long-winded here. The comic line stopped, so it obviously was. It just the DC canceled it. It wasn't being profitable. It wasn't doing very well, and along with that comes no more stories for anybody. And the Thundercats crossover deserved to bomb quicker than it. I don't know if DC would call it a bomb, but I certainly can't say it did great.
Well, it lost a lot. I mean, it dropped every single month. This isn't hypotheticals. Anybody can go online and you can always see the comic book sales for each month. And you've seen from issue 1 of that crossover to the last one. I mean, they lost close to almost half of the people that were buying it.
And yet I see so many people on social media saying how great it was. And I'm like,
hey, if they like it, more power to them.
But it just feels like, well, but then again, too, there's always people. I take that back because for everything that I like, there's always somebody out there slamming or something like that. But yeah, no more Despard because there's no more He-Man comics, and I guess whoever decides to, pick up the rights if DC, gives it up and Mattel decides to go with somebody else, it's going to be up to them to push it or somebody to use it in a new cartoon or something like that. But it's no more comics means no more Despard or anything else.
Yep. Well, there you go. So hope we kind of answered or at least gave our thoughts on it right there. But next question, I'm going back to the chat room because JSP has one that I'm going to have. This should be fun. I want to say it first because then I know Tyler's going to go on a tangent and a tirade. JSP says, I'm new to this podcast, so if you have answered this, I apologize. In your minds, who are the masters of the universe? Well, JSP, I'm going to say because it was not only from the original mini comics that it was stated, but it was stated in a lot of the other storybooks. This was in a lot of things, and it's also in something dreaded that Tyler hates. Tyler hates MYP, but
you're neglecting one of the biggest sources too. So
hold on.
I know what you're trying to do here, but you completely forgot one.
Yes, but you're gonna. Yeah, we'll talk about that one, which you can do. So I'm just going on my end. All the original comics before the cartoons and stuff, the 4 original mini comics, and a lot of the other record books, storybooks, blah blah blah, they referred to as the heroes as the masters of the universe. Now, in MYP, they force-fed that line. It was a way He-Man said it that really annoyed people. So as for Tyler, he hates them being called the masters of the universe. He likes them being the heroic warriors, which that's cool. But I do like Masters of the Universe because that's what I remembered him as before I watched the cartoon. When I had the first original mini comics and other storybooks, the heroes were the Masters of the Universe. So that's my answer. And prepare yourself. Here we go.
To me, Master of the Universe is everybody. It's because everybody's a master of their craft. It's Merman's master of the oceans. Beastman is master of the beast. Man-at-Arms is master of weapons and hand-to-hand combat. But to me, it's like they're the best at what they do. Jitsu is the master of martial arts. Jitsu is master of hand-to-hand combat, kind of like Man-at-Arms. Cobra Khan is master of snakes. Webstor's master. It says it on the card. What they are the master of. Not all of them say that, but for the most part, you kind of feel like what they do. Like Jitsu is the master of martial arts, so he is clearly the best in the universe at martial arts. But then again, too, whereas Joe said, the mini comics, this and that, but the Filmation cartoon makes references to the villains being the masters of the universe as well.
Did they just say the evil masters of the universe? Didn't they have that in one of the original openings?
Well, in the alternate intro, which if you own the Dragon Invasion VHS tape that was released through RCA Columbia House, that comes with Curse of the Spellstone and Dragon Invasion. The intro on that VHS tape has the alternate intro to He-Man, which has a completely different, voiceover with John Irwin calling Skeletor the evil masters of the universe. It sounds really, really kick-ass. And I heard that as a kid, and I thought, well, that's different, but that's really cool. And then you hear it referenced in the cartoon, and I kind of, wasn't quite sure if that's what they were doing. And then James Etok, confirmed on his YouTube channel that, and through scripts, that the villains were going to be in the cartoon, because originally it was He-Man and Masters of the Universe instead of and the Masters of the Universe. But the villains essentially were started out is referred to as Masters of the Universe. The villains were going to be that particular group, He-Man and the villains, kind of like that. So, but to me, it's an all-encompassing title. Everybody that's in the toy line, the cartoon, whatever, they are the masters of what they do. They are the masters of the universe. The entire group is that. So that's my opinion on that. And no, they sure as hell are not the masters.
Yeah, I mean, like I know exactly why somehow you definitely hate it. For me, sure, I can see everybody being that, but I can when I hear the no, I know, but when I do hear it as the heroes, it doesn't shock me because it's something I heard before. So that's basically like I wanted to say that, and what I was trying to get across is it doesn't freak me out hearing the heroes refer to that because I've heard it before. But I mean, to see everybody as that, I can see that too. And JSP, he agrees with you. He says, "Thank you." He says, "I'm with Tyler." So he likes your, tagging everybody with masters, which
I like his style.
Yeah, there you go. So, all right, well, thank you for that, JSP. Now, we got a quick memory from Willis Wheeler. He said his favorite He-Man memory. He said he got Castle Grayskull and He-Man and Battle Cat for Christmas. Then for his birthday in February, he got everybody but Tila and Manny Faces. And he said he got it in a red He-Man box at Rivertown Pizza. So thanks for that memory, Willis. And let me see. Eric Van Dever. Oh God, I almost had, for some reason, I had trouble saying his name. Eric Van Dever. He said, "When was the Eternia playset released and how much? I never remember seeing them in the store." He said, "Favorite memory was going to see the She-Ra movie with my godfather when it first came out. So I don't remember seeing the movie too. It was great. But as for Eternia, I don't know. Was that 86 when that came out?
86.
Okay, so it came out, but I never really paid attention to prices, but I believe they had it on sale. It ranged anywhere from 79 to 99 if it was on sale at certain stores. And God, could you only imagine getting an Eternia playset nowadays for $79.99? But
I'd buy 3 of them at that price.
I did freak out. So, I mean, for back then, that was a pricey playset, and through a lot of saving, that's how I got mine for Christmas.
Well, still, that's a lot. I mean, the Turtles playset, the one that Playmates just released, they were asking $100 for that thing. So, I mean, it seems like, well, not even though we're talking like 30 years ago, some companies are still asking that kind of money for a playset.
I mean, but it was well worth it. That thing was gigantic. Like I said, I was blown away when I got it for Christmas. I mean, those 3 giant towers, the tracks, the different 3 attachments that go around, like with the monorail, had electronics, the stickers, the features. That thing was so well worth it. I mean, I know a lot of people, it's just like how Eric was saying, he didn't have it. Some people didn't even know it existed. And when you show it to them, I've seen a lot of people say, "Well, it looks stupid. I wouldn't have had fun with it." I'm thinking, oh man, believe me, I think if you got that as a kid, you would have went bonkers. I mean, that's my opinion, but I sure know I lost my mind with that.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware it existed until the toy guides had listed it in the early 90s when I was buying toy magazines and seeing price guides and saw the Eternia playset. I'm like, what is it? I always thought it was the Royal Palace. But no, I never saw it in stores. I mean, I came across, a lot of He-Man action figures, but I don't recall seeing a lot of the vehicles in the stores at the time, except like the Jitsu Night Stalker 2-pack, the Dragon Walker. I just did, and I did come across the dinosaurs in the stores at the time, but I never saw the Eternia playset. At least it may have even been there, but I don't recall ever seeing it at that time. So it was till the old Adam Tyner website in the early 90s of the internet when I saw what the playset looked like for the first time and realized it was those 3 towers. It was featured in the Powers of Grayskull mini comic I had as a kid. So
yeah, it was so Eric that was one bonkers playset. I hope we kind of covered it again when it came out and the price for you, but yeah, it was something else. So thank you for your memory and for your question also. Next one is from Chris Six-Shot Perry. First, he said his favorite memories are the DC Comics with Snake Bin and Viper Tower becoming the base for the Heroic Warriors. And then he said his question is, how do you perceive the fandom in terms of growth over the next decade? So he says, you see it shrinking, growing, staying the same, and why? He said both of his kids enjoy Masters of the Universe, and they're 12 and 13. So you're raising them right, Chris. You're raising them right, definitely. But, as for growth, I would pray we could have growth. But it's going back to what we said earlier. We can only get growth if there's going to be a new cartoon or a new movie. Without any kind of new media, there's not going to be any growth. It's going to be what we've continued to have is fans like us keeping this property alive, buying the stuff that, obviously, first was from, Maddie Collector, now through Super 7 and any other things. But you can't have a new generation unless, like Chris is raising his kids to know it. That's great. But just kids who are growing up without any knowledge of Masters, how are they going to even know this exists? Because there's no way for them to search when they don't even know there's something to search for. Why would they want to search for Masters when it means nothing to them? But if there's a new cartoon of it and a new movie, then it piques interest. So unless they give a new cartoon or a new movie, I actually would see no growth. It's just going to be us fans that have been around for the past 30 some years and giving it, passing on to our kids, our nieces and nephews, and that's not enough to give good growth. So if there's any new media, I don't see much new growth. That's my thought. What about you, T-Rex?
I'm similar in that if there's no new media, it's not going to people's. You kind of feel like too, if there's nothing going on for you to purchase or watch, you're not as inclined to be digging around for He-Man related stuff on the internet or searching for it on various stores and stuff like that, because it's not there to remind you, hey, He-Man is still around. So it's almost as if obviously it's really big on the internet. I mean, it still is. There's so many Facebook pages devoted to He-Man. Internet sites, are around. People are doing, various custom figures, brand new artwork. I mean, just anything and everything because they're fans of it. But it feels like, I'm sure with a lot of people say, oh, well, I was a big fan of it about 3 years ago and kind of got out of it. I got tired of this or tired of that. And then they come back to it. It's not, unfortunately, it's not like Star Wars where there could be no new movies coming out, no media, but it's a powerhouse where they're doing conventions for it, still selling toys left and right because then people buy it. Because of, at least to Hasbro's credit, they want to please all Star Wars fans, not just getting kids who are new to this and just will throw anything at them, cheap or not, and they'll buy it. Whereas the adult collectors who have kept it alive, they're taken care of as well as the newcomers. Mattel doesn't seem to ever want to do that. They're more about the new buyers and the kids. They don't care about the adult collectors. As we all learned, the classics line was, it was sitting in the back seat somewhere, to the Mattel higher ups. It was not a big deal. It wasn't on the radar a whole lot. So if we don't have any new media, it's going to be up to people who are on the internet, constantly posting stuff, sharing their, thoughts, theories, ideas, pictures they found, things they purchased, new artwork, new action figures they've customized, people supporting Super 7's classic figure line and the various things that they're selling, buying posters from, Mad Duck or whoever's selling them. It's because we're letting people know that you're interested in it. It's up to everybody.
But you're right. It's like us. We are. I mean, not you and I per se, but I mean, it's the fans. The fans are really keeping this alive. And I've never seen so many groups. Believe me, I'm into horror. I'm into other things too. And I've never seen so many people make groups for any property like I have for Masters. Because I think everybody wants to keep it alive in their heart one way or another. That's what's weird. I wonder, hey, if we had all the, new media, if there was a new cartoon, a new movie, would there be so many groups? Because I think people are so starved and hungry for something that they're like, what, I loved He-Man growing up. I'm going to make a group. I'm going to make a group. And it's all stemming from the heart and the love. That's why I love so many groups. I love seeing all these groups on Facebook. It's fantastic. I don't see it as being too much because some people say, oh, there's too many groups. No, it's great. I love seeing that people can pop up something. And whether they're sharing stuff from the past, stuff they'd like to see in the future, or what's happening in the present. That's what's great about the property is we really are keeping it alive. And no doubt, if there was a new cartoon or any new media that did come out, still going to be, posting and making new things and stuff for the groups. And I hope they still do them. But
fans really it stimulates it more if there's something meaty out there for people to look at, and or more toys, more cartoons, a movie, whatever. It takes something to make it bigger than ever. But I mean, honestly, considering that there's nothing like that going on, I mean, you kind of almost feel, can't really say it's real dormant, but you can also feel like there's probably like a lackluster enthusiasm at the moment. Not for all of it, but because it is, classics is so few and far between. Next week could really generate big publicity because new figures are going to be announced. A week from today, or a little less than a week as we're talking right now, which should kind of generate a lot of interest. Unless they're like, "Where's Redman at, man? Man, I don't want that guy." Or "Where's the guy who was in the background of that one mini comic that I had that everyone said was so cool, but I said
we need new fans. But it's definitely. I mean, we do need a new generation of fans to join us.
Well, we do that, and because like this gentleman we're talking about here, showing your kids, and unfortunately, not all kids are going to take to this, but I also feel like kids can still respond to it, and you don't have to dumb it down and have them talk, trendy and cool and hip and try to, put in, modern day slang in a He-Man cartoon because you think, well, kids can't respond to this. I think it's like back when they wrote kid characters for us in our cartoons. Like, I could, give a rat's ass about the child character in this show or the bumbling buffoon cartoony character. I want to be the tough guy, the leader of the show, who's around kicking ass and taking on, the various villains of the show. I'm like, I don't respond to the obnoxious kid on the show. I respond to the big muscle guy who's going to get the job done. That's who I want to be.
They were hated then, and
they still do that with cartoons now with properties like Spider-Man or whatever. They dumb it down for the new generation because it's like, oh, we're all idiots. We just respond to, cherubs and, cool hip slang and stuff like that.
No, not many people liked the kids back then. I don't remember any of the ones in the cartoons that I cared for. And as an adult,
I didn't relate to them more. I wasn't watching the show like, wow, little Jimmy, boy, he learned his lesson today. I'll be sure not to drink poison because he learned it in today's episode.
Yeah, they thought they had to do that. But no, they're not memorable. Nobody liked them then. They usually didn't like them much now. You almost hate them more as an adult. But well, all right. Well, I'm sure we covered Chris's question a lot there. So thanks for that question. Next one is just a quick, it's a comment from Ross Warren that I kind of got a kick out of, which is talking about basically how nobody knows of Masters. He says, if the new Masters of the Universe movie finally comes out, how many clueless moviegoers are going to look at the title and wrongly dismiss it as a Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff? You know what? Almost in a way, Ross, I agree with you. For the ones that don't have a clue, I can imagine a younger generation saying, "Oh, what's that ripping off Guardians of the Galaxy or Masters of the Universe?" They don't know. So yeah, let's get something out quick so people don't start saying this, because we got to get, like I said, fresh into everybody's heads so they know this is something that was a juggernaut back in the 80s. It'd be great to see it come back with just a force again. But again, we don't know if that's ever going to happen. Next.
Yeah. And it might be better if it doesn't happen for a while right now.
Yeah, exactly. We've waited almost 16 years, so I'm sure we're waiting. Or, as for when they start talking about new movies, we'll probably wait a lot longer. Now, next one is a comment from Daniel Cunningham. He said, here in Scotland in the 80s, he said he was lucky enough to be to get a new Masters of the Universe figure every payday by his dad. He'd pick them from the racks on the first floor of a fancy goods store called John Menzies. He says, next to the toys, they had a music records and tape department. So I associate every character with the tune played when he got it. He said for him, Triclops was Careless Whisper by Wham, Fisto was The Riddle by Nick Kershaw, and Battlecat was Jump by Van Halen. So that's kind of cool. God, I couldn't even picture that. When I would go to the store, just a toy store, there's no music at all, but that's a fun little connection if you go into somewhere and there's music playing because they have music section and you get a little memory. I love stuff like that here.
Well, the closest thing I can say to that is when we would go to Hills, there was like a variety of songs from the 80s and early 90s playing on the way to Hills that I would hear in the car that if I hear them today, I would link that to going to Hills to buy toys, most likely He-Man or G.I. Joe or Turtles or the new Adventures of He-Man or whatever. So I can appreciate that thought because there are certain songs I associate with buying toys back then.
Yes, definitely. So thank you for that. Next one is from Royce Viso. I hope I said your last name right. I tried it both ways. He's got first a question, or actually two questions. First part, He said, "Is there any video available from the stage show?" And when he says stage show, he means the power tour that they had that went around the United States back then. And what's cool is if you go to YouTube, you can see video of that because they told a story. There was like an in-depth like story, and I think even the of Hordak, and it went in depth. And there's unfortunately there is no video that I know of. I wish somebody could have got that all on VHS and then converted it, eventually now to DVD or something for everybody to see. But I don't know if there's any clean footage. There's basically just clips that you see on YouTube, which it's fun. I mean, I like seeing some different. I can only imagine if it came into my area as a kid, I probably would have lost my mind to see He-Man, She-Ra, Hordak, Skeletor. Who wouldn't went nuts to see a show of them live? So that's that part. Now, passing off to Tyler, because I know you can tackle this one quicker. He said, "What's the first appearance of Webstor in the comics and cartoon?"
First appearance in the cartoon was Cat and the Spiders, the first episode of season 2. And then comics, really, he didn't appear in the Star comics. Mini comics was the first thing that he appeared in, at least comic book wise, and that would have been Clash of Arms. And that's really all he had in that year. He didn't have, which was odd, but he didn't have an appearance in Temple of Darkness, Masks of Power, Double-Edged Sword, and I was trying to think what else came out there. He-Man and the Insect People. But it was just Clash of Arms, a brief appearance, and then he would show up again in '85 with the Rock Warriors and Rock People to the Rescue, where he would be teaming up with his classic tag team partner Cobra Khan.
Yeah,
in that one, and then he would show up in Eye of the Storm, and I want to say I thought he had another appearance. Breaking it down, I don't think he had as many appearances as I thought, but his first one was Clash of Arms. Larry Houston drew that. He looks great in it. And Cat and the Spider, I've warmed up to a little bit more. It's not my favorite Webstor appearance.
No, at least we get to see.
Dragons, for me, Disappearing Dragons was the first time he showed up. In my eyes, it's always going to be that to me.
For Cat and the Spider, yeah, I was gonna say, as for Cat and the Spider, at least we got to see Katrina. She's a very fan-demanded character. As for a figure,
and I don't know why.
Well, hey, I mean, she was sitting there. She flirted with Battle Cat. Boy, Battle Cat is gonna. Hey, check
that doesn't justify why she's a great character. So she hit on Battle Cat. I mean,
she was an agile cat woman. You never seen, and no pun intended, but it was cool seeing different characters. I mean, she's a cat warrior. I mean, she's pretty cool.
I was so disappointed in that episode when I saw that on the Skeletor's Revenge VHS. I'm like, man, this episode sucks. I thought it was awful. Not to mention the other 2 episodes that were on that tape sucked too.
We got to see Webstor's Wind Raider with the legs on it.
Yeah, it's like a spider-like Wind Raider. Yeah,
Spider Raider. Yeah, so we got
to see even given a name. I don't know if in Filmation production that was even given a name. I have no idea.
Well, you could call it either the Spider Raider or the Wind Spider. There's a couple things you could call that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff you could call it that. But that was his first appearance. If you want to be technical, yeah, that was the first episode he showed up in. Written by the great Larry DiTillio. There
you go. All right, now another one. I'm going to switch back to JSP real quick in the live chat. This one I'm just going to answer with one quick, simple word, and you might say the same thing. Did we ever like the 2 kids in the He-Man Christmas, She-Ra Christmas special? No. Tyler.
They're forgettable characters. They're not offensive. They're not obnoxious. They're just there.
To sing a horrible song that everybody could.
Yeah, which I just fast forward through whenever I watch that thing. But they're not offensive. They're just forgettable, and they're there. And to me, it's not. We're not watching the He-Man Christmas special to watch kids. We're watching to see He-Man, Skeletor, and Hordak, and all the various cameos that show up in it. So
I'll admit, the only thing that I related to, or I mean, I wouldn't say relate to, but liked about the idea of those kids when I first watched it on TV was they got transported to Eternia. And who, as a kid, never thought, boy, it would be great if I could go to Eternia and meet He-Man and see these people. It was cool to see them on Eternia, and it was also cool to see when they got home, they had those flying belts that were given to them as gifts. I was like, wow, again, how cool would that be if I got a belt from Eternia and I could fly around? So I like the thoughts of that. But as for them as characters, no, weren't really memorable as for anything important, except to move the story forward and
Yeah,
along. We just
that's
happened.
pretty much all they were. They were a plot device for the show, to be
Exactly.
tossed around all over the place. So,
Right. And
I'm gonna read a question I got here from our pal Michael Bell.
okay, Michael.
He wants to know, who would you and Joe like to interview most on the show?
Whew. Oh me. Oh man. That's you know, God, who do I want to interview? The person that created Masters of the Universe and the figures? Would it be somebody that worked on the comic, worked in the movie? That's I would love to talk with Mark Taylor. I mean, that would be great. I know that plenty of people have spoke with him before, but sometimes you can always get out new answers when you'll give questions that maybe others just never said in a certain way if you phrase it a certain way. But I would love to know a lot more of the behind the scenes stuff, what it was like to work on everything back then, things he would have liked to have seen that didn't happen, maybe things that happened that he didn't like. I don't know. I always love, stuff behind the scenes stuff, especially when it comes to the creation of something in figures. So I'd say Mark Taylor.
I mean, the people that come to mind, Larry DiTilio, who's I've been unable to find any kind of contact information about on how to get in touch with him. There's a billion questions. He's been interviewed, and I'm still not getting satisfied with the interviews that people have done with him about He-Man. Like, there's so much more I want to know. Gary Goddard, another guy, it's been hard to get in touch with about getting him on the podcast. There's 1,000 questions to ask him about the movie that I feel like still have not been asked. Details we don't know that I'm like, they're there and no one's bothered to ask. Um, uh, I mean, some of the Mattel execs to give you a more behind the scenes idea of what went on during the toy line, especially when the toy sales were dropping, the ideas and all that stuff. And I mean, Dolph Lundgren, of course, Frank Langella, and John Irwin.
Well, he doesn't speak to really
He
anybody,
doesn't
does he?
speak, but the simple fact that the guy is the voice of the most powerful man in the universe, it just feels like, because no one ever has. I mean, it's just one of those great mysteries that we'll probably never get any kind of interview with that man in any shape or form. But there's anybody involved with the movie is always fun. But Larry, Larry DiTilio, Gary Goddard, those two. I mean, Larry. I think when Michael sent me that question, Larry DiTilio was the first guy that came up, because
Okay.
it's just, I'd love to ask him about that. So that's Michael Bell's question there to us.
Good question. You got another question?
Yes. From Anthony Ryan, he's got a memory with a question that added to it here. Do you guys know if there's any, or wherever any concept art made for the exterior of Snake Mountain? I've seen your webcast with Mr. William Stout, but only a couple stills of the door and mercenaries were shown. Just wondering if you guys know about any more. I'm a huge fan of the movie. For me, it was my first cinema experience at the age of 5, and I remember it really accurately. In that time, the movie was huge. We played it at school, and all my friends had the sticker albums. It was the first VHS that became hugely popular. Everyone I knew had it. It's only been since the internet came about that's been dubbed as a box office flop. I can second to that. And critiqued badly. This really wasn't the case in 87, 88. And I remember the time time well, and everybody had seen He-Man. After the movie, they reproduced the cartoon into He-Man of the future, and I remember so many people saying they didn't like it, that ruined the original cartoon. And it goes into some of his other information. He concludes about his model kit he's posted there, and then also he says, "Thanks, guys. Only one of anyway. Love the use of Gwildor's great quote. Great quote there, Anthony." William, he's designed, the throne room, which had lava in it. The entrance to Snake Mountain were concept art. Interiors of a few shots of interiors, but there's also, as he stated, he's got a bunch of art for the movie that has not seen the light of day. Concepts and sketches and stuff like that, and in that book of art that he's got stashed away, I mean, there may be a whole hell of a lot of Snake Mountain we haven't seen, even a full concept of the exterior. So it's hopefully, William will make that book happen, and
I'll
we'll
buy it.
get more answers because everyone wonders about that, about what it would have looked like. So,
Right.
Anthony, I'm hoping for it just as much as you are, bud.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, because when that book comes out, I'll be buying it. So
yeah, I'll be pre-ordering that.
all right. Well, I'll switch real quick to a quick little comment from Edward Nieto. I probably screwed your name up. Sorry. He said, Starship Eternia was such an awesome playset and flying flip shot. He said he wanted an RC flying flavor that would be awesome. I'm not quite sure what that meant. I don't know if he was using Google Translate, but Starship Eternia, never had it, but yes, that would have been an epic thing to have, along with some of the other new adventure figures that I started collecting some recently of the vintage stuff. But all right, well, thank you for that comment. Real quick, or not real quick, but next one would be Matt Manchester. He said he has 3 interpretations of He-Man stuff that maybe we can consider. He said, number 1, King Hiss. I always thought he was a rational, vocal human on the outside, but a mindless swarm of animalistic snakes on the inside. I couldn't figure out how that worked, which made the whole idea extra creepy. 2, Manny Faces was clearly an evil son of a, I'll bleep it, when rocking the monster face, much like the head swapping queen from Return to Oz. He said there's no way the monster face and human face share the same brain. And he said number 3, Clawful. As his buddy Sean Horton described it, it was such a weird thing to see a ripped human arm go out into a full lobster claw. He said that's it. He said, so mine are all interpretations of a child's mind on a lot of these concepts. Feel free to explore the ones you had when you were young. So I love all the ones he said. So I appreciate that. As for me, God, I don't know. It's not like I really sat when I was watching the cartoon or even the toys really in depthly. Sometimes I never really thought about that. I enjoyed what I have. I mean, I guess every character, whoever and however they were presented to me, that's who they were. I never thought much about them. The only one I thought about was how I said earlier was Sky High in the poster of William George because he didn't have a name. There was nothing to him. That was the only time I ever made up anything for anybody because I pictured, I gave him his name and I pictured him being the best fighter pilot in all of Eternia. That was my thought for somebody I didn't know. So, no, as for all the established characters, that was just it for me. That's who they were. So, I mean, I love how you thought in depthly about it. I love that. But I guess as a kid, I never did it. What about you?
No, I mean, the card art told me, bad guy, good guy, and what they did and whose alliance they were, a member of, and like for King Hiss, I'm like, no, I took it as strictly his outer skin was to be deceptive and to fool people into thinking that this is a nice, friendly guy, because the figure has this kind of smile on his face, which as a kid makes it look that much more sinister. That you have this good look, a good humble looking character, and then his skin falls off and he's this mess of snakes. It was just part of the deception of the character, I thought, and that's how it's presented on the card art, that he looks like a friendly character approaching He-Man, and then the snakes come out and then the snake men attack, and it's all about deception with King Hiss. And Manny Faces, I took it as that he could do Filmation. That was my introduction to Manny Faces as to what he could do. And that was pretty much my introduction. I didn't take it as that he had multiple personalities, but they weren't like completely different brains to me. It was all the same guy. He used the monster for abnormal strength, the robot for a various strength, and he has this kind of human. They all share the same brain. But to me, when he changed to the monster, it was a more monstrous strength. The robot was probably smarter and could short circuit stuff, like he does in the Manny Faces episode, Mystery Manny Faces. So more about enhancements as opposed to different personalities, so to speak, I guess you could say.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you for that question and your interpretations and thoughts on that. I like that. It was pretty cool. Next one is from Nigel J. L. Willis. He says, do you have a personal roadmap of what you'd like to see Super 7 produce and what would be in your next couple waves? Well, for me, no doubt. I mean, I can't wait to see Hero and Eldor in vintage form. That's what I've always wanted as a kid. I I can't wait to see them. And if they explore more with maybe if they went with the Errol McCarthy art that, the Power and Honor Foundation, how they showed us all those other mixed match of all them characters. Cool to see vintage versions of it. It'd be great if they explored with more dinosaurs in vintage form. If we ever got the gigantosaur dinosaur, that would be great. As for classics, I mean, I'd like to see any version of Garn, whether it be from the cartoon or from the mini comic.
Hell yeah.
Yes, I mean, no doubt. I'd love that. I'd love Colonel Blast. I mean, as Tyler said, Dial-A-Mug would be fantastic. And yes, I would love for them to finally tackle the Meteorbs and give them an upgrade. They would fit in with anything else that the Four Horsemen have done. They can make them look cool. I guess that's some of my roadmap, I guess, and things I'd like to see.
Classics is number one for me. As long as that's going, that's my biggest thing. Movie rights to get, the movie versions of the characters, of course.
Yeah.
Meteors deserve to be made, damn it. More, I want New Adventures finished off, like all the Galactic Guardians.
Gotta see Sagittar. Gotta get Sagittar. That would be nuts.
I want Teo done. I want Visor, Nocturna. I want Lizor. I want Hoove. I want all of those characters done and finished. I'm not too concerned about characters that were in the cartoon. I want all that finished because She-Ra's finished, He-Man was finished. They're working on Filmation. That could go on a long time. And you know what? I mean, I want to see T-shirts, with soft fabric, much like the one I'm wearing here with my T-Rex emblem that Joe Amanda put together that my girlfriend got for me.
There you go.
This soft material here with the Errol McCarthy pajama art, like the ones like He-Man versus King Hiss on T-shirts meant for adults. I don't want to see thick cotton shirts with some generic Filmation style that's the colors are all wrong with He-Man saying, got power or come at me, bro, or some, lame ass slogan to throw on a T-shirt. I don't want any just an image, just like what we had when we were kids. Yep. You see all that beautiful artwork that the Power and Honor Foundation had released a while back, all the various like pajama and T-shirt art that they've done. I want that on an adult T-shirt. I want Super 7 to produce T-shirts with the Errol McCarthy art. It could be a simple, a soft white, maybe even a ringer shirt to make it kind of like an 80s retro feel to it. With that, and it doesn't even have to be in color. I don't care. But something that looks reminiscent of what we wore as kids with that same art style, Fisto versus Jitsu, and He-Man and Scuba Attack versus Squeeze, and the movie artwork of a movie He-Man fighting Skeletor on top of that building inside the city. I mean,
I would enjoy that a lot more than the cheap stuff of just using Filmation looks and saying
all they're doing, or taking some very generic, illustration of Skeletor. I mean, it's just like there's no heart, it's just like cookie cutter.
Quick. It is just bam, easy, quick, boom, bam, bam. Everybody likes to have Skeletor.
I would, I know a lot of this stuff. You go on these websites on the internet, they're charging like $28, $30 for a T-shirt. That's pretty cool, but it's like better quality. And like I will pay $30 for a nice soft material shirt that has got Errol McCarthy's, Webstor versus Buzz Off art with the scroll at the bottom there, nice color. Or give us some original artwork, from Axel Jimenez and Kevin Sharp, guys who know how to draw this stuff. A good, simple character versus character battle on a nice, comfortable, soft T-shirt, and I will pay $30 for a quality T-shirt. That's not some generic, well, we got the rights to this, slap it on a thick cotton shirt, charge $25 for it,
Yeah, those I would pay big money
for us to wear. Hell, I don't even want gym tanks. Give me some tank tops. Cool clothing that's not something that's just sloppy and silly. And it's like no one put a damn thought in their head on when they made this.
No doubt. Yes. Errol McCarthy art on T-shirts would be.
And everything that Joe said, continue the vintage line, more classics for Filmation style, and just keep classics going as long as and give us the movie rights.
Okay. Definitely. So hope we covered that for you. That, like I said, we both had almost the same similar thoughts. Now, next one is from Casey Kal-El Evans. The question or statement is, I am a huge fan of the mini comics. I would love to see a more in-depth dive into the classic stories, more drawn-out stories with better and deeper character development. In terms of figures, what would be your top 5 most wanted vehicles? I know my number one would be a Filmation accurate attack track. Looking forward to hearing the podcast. Ooh, oh man, let me go
Like
right to
in
the.
classics form, like
I
he's
think
asking for.
I'm thinking maybe means classic form, or I don't know, because I mean, well, we already had the stuff back then. I don't think was referring to maybe just the cartoon, but I'm gonna go with the thought of classics. So with that being
Okay.
said, yes, I would love a Filmation accurate attack track as well because
Yeah, I would.
Joe Amaro made an amazing one that he did and showed like enough to fit tons of characters. So, Filmation accurate attack track. I would love to see myself. I would love to see finally the land shark in classics. God, I could imagine just a nastier, grittier look that maybe the Horseman could do to the land shark, and it would still have the feature where you push it and I would love to see that. It'd be cool to finally get the collector that we never got from the Filmation cartoon. That would.
Oh man, that thing would be so big though. But to be able
Oh,
to house at least 3 to 4 evil warriors in, and they had to be able to stand up in the thing. I mean, that's
I would love it
gosh.
though.
I'd build it for a playset of the interior of the collector. You know, like Skeletor's throne chair, a view
I
screen.
agree.
You know,
But I think
I mean, because it would be so big.
yeah, I mean the same thing with like the attack track Joe Amaro made. I mean it was a big sucker because he wanted to try to implement some look of how it was in the cartoon of how it can fit a lot. But you're right, the collector would be massive, but even if they couldn't go that massive, still be freaking awesome to see. So I'd say the collector. Um, I the other two I'm trying to see re-envisions or like how they could reimagine some of the figures or the other things. I want to see a new Spydor. I love Spydor had to be one of my favorites because it was so freaking creepy. Seeing how he moved forward and he could go backwards too, with the batteries. I don't think they're going to be using batteries for anything probably, but if they did finally do it, give me another Spydor. And I liked um, Blaster Hawk myself, just because I used to. Nobody ever talks about Blaster Hawk or Fright Fighter. Those are two of the vehicles I loved as a kid, but you don't hear many people have attachments to them. But I had fun with Blaster Hawk. I used to shoot them discs out like crazy. So just I guess for a reminiscing thing, I'd like to see a Blaster Hawk. But the other four, definite serious of how I'd want. And the fifth, just for fun, give me a Blaster Hawk remake.
First one's Stridor, and it doesn't seem like it'd be too far off. But that's my favorite vehicle is Stridor.
Yeah.
Stridor. The dinosaurs, all three of them, T-Rex, Turbodactyl, and the Bionatops.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like those. They're not they are means of transportation, so that they're not your typical vehicle, but are the accessories from the last wave, like the scuba attack, the tower tools, and the cliff climber.
Yeah.
I just thought they looked so cool.
Plus, we never got them in the U.S., so yeah.
Yeah, we never. I mean, I've got two of them, but yeah, we never got them in the U.S. and they just look really really cool. But if you're leaning more towards what we got in there, I mean, yeah, the attack track would be awesome. Stridor, the dinosaurs. So what is that? That's 5. But yeah, I'll go with this 5 and any one of the accessories of the scuba attack. That's what I'm going to go with. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We'll take anything. Definitely. I mean, I'll take anything.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're going to charge like $120, I ain't buying it because that's why I didn't buy, some of the other stuff. Even though it's on discount, I don't. It's running out of room and stuff like that too. But
definitely. All right. Well, I have 4 more questions on my end. I don't know what you have, but
I've got more.
Okay. All right. Well, next one is from Eric Glenn. That's my buddy Eric. He said, "I want to know how y'all feel about Jitsu." He said, he was used in the comic strip, but only used once in Filmation series, never used in 2000X series. We see him in the DC comics a couple of times. What's everybody's thoughts and feelings on this totally unused character? Well, God, we covered him like a couple episodes back.
I'll reiterate it again here because anybody wants to praise Jitsu, I'm going to take time.
Oh, no doubt. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we talked about him a couple episodes ago, and yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just so sad we never got anything from him. I mean, that his appearance in the Filmation cartoon was just. It was a joke, and everybody said maybe they were.
It wasn't a joke.
It was a joke.
Underused.
Well, that's what I mean. Underused. It was a joke because we didn't get really anything out of it. It's sad. It's like I wanted more. Of course, we wanted more. Of course, we wanted him in the MYP cartoon also. But how they could handle him, I don't know. Because I think what Tyler said and other people said, maybe they thought that it could have seemed like it could have been insensitive to possibly people.
Well, Michael Reeves, the guy who wrote that episode, made that clear on the first Filmation release where he's interviewed about it. He asked the question, or says that he asked Filmation, "Are you guys all right with this villain being Asian? Is anybody gonna have a problem with this?" So that's what always made me think that when the guy who wrote Jitsu into of course he's known as Chopper back then. When you're thinking that might be an issue, I feel like that's probably one of the reasons why Filmation just decided to pull the character after that one episode.
And I would have had a problem with that. I mean, God, there's villains of every race back then and heroes of every race. And I just would have loved to see more Jitsu in a serious one. Not only using, his, hand-to-hand combat, maybe if he would have just did other types of martial arts, had weapons, use the sword that he came with, anything. I mean, it just would have been great to build up some battles between him and Fisto, a real good battle between those two and a backstory. And my God, I can only envision if we could have had him in MYP, especially looking at that staction that the Fourth Horseman gave us. God, now that would have been nuts if he would have looked like that in the cartoon. So such a sad. He was so underused, and he's got a really good cult following. And it's sad we didn't get more of Jitsu.
All right, well, what's this gentleman's name who's in this question?
This is Eric Glenn. Eric.
We've done 2 episodes about Jitsu. One is on on the YouTube podcast, and you can also download it. We also did one probably a year ago talking about Jitsu, so you can track that down. And then go to James E. Talks He-Man official YouTube channel, and he's got a trivia video that he put together that talks about Jitsu and his one appearance in the cartoon and how it's linked to Strong Arm. I won't spoil it for you, but it's on there right now. So when you get done, if you're watching us right now or you get this, check out that. It's like a 3, 4, 5 minute video. It's one of the. I've watched that video several times because it's just a fun video to watch about Jitsu and Strong Arm connected. But that'll give you an extra punch of history and trivia about that character, because I love the character to death. Him and Clawful were my 2 favorite villains as a kid that I did not own, and I hold them in great high regard, and I want to see them in more canon. So great question. We love Jitsu here at Fans of Power.
Yes, a lot, definitely. So thank you, Eric. Next one from Christopher Glenn Dahlberg. He said, "Have you read Matt Kaiser's Masters of the Universe trilogy, and what did you think of it?" And he said, "Also, I loved when my mom took me to Kmart in the 80s. He said they had an amazing toy section. Good times." So first, I didn't read all of his trilogy. I read one from Matt Kaiser, and it's cool. I love seeing what fans write. I will have to get to the other 2. And as for your comment about Kmart, that's one of mine. I mean, I remember when my mom took me to Kmart, and sure enough, always ran right to that Masters Universe section. I just loved waiting to see what was going to be next. We didn't have an internet back then. You didn't see anything in magazines even of what's coming out. You just had to be surprised. So I remembered always going to 2 particular sections when it came to Masters. The toy section, and if there was nothing there, I remembered going 2 aisles over and then back a ways. There was the book section of storybooks, magazines, and bam, they always had coloring books. And it seemed like there was always a new coloring book popping up, and I loved it. My mom would always give me a new coloring book, and those were good times. It's cool to hear his Kmart memory, because that was kind of memories I had. It's weird. It just came to me quickly. I haven't even thought about Kmart in years, but I remember going from the toys to back in the book section and getting some coloring books. So I like
Kmart's where I found He-Man for the first time. Was at Kmart, and my mama and papa took me there shopping one day, and I remember seeing what I guess the best way I could describe it is like Kmart used to have these kind of tables set out that looked like like a bin that you could put stuff in, and it was filled with He-Man, and that was the first time I saw He-Man, and I walked out of there with He-Man and Skeletor. That was the first 2 figures I bought was at Kmart, and that's one of my most fondest memories, and that same He-Man is sitting in my collector's room. So
that's awesome.
Mine's also linked to Kmart as well. But as for the fan fiction, I've never heard of it. I'm not familiar with him or his work.
I'll give some links. Like I said, it was some great like I said, some fan stories, and I can give links later tonight. Then for those who might want to read it, I'll put them up on my wall so you can check out his page too. So, like I said, I got to get to the other two parts, but from the first part I read, it's good. Like I said again, fans keeping this stuff alive. So, well, thank you for that, for Christopher. I mean, it was a good memory and also a good question. Now, two questions left. One is going to be a quick one because I could just say it just like this. Raj Ganesh said, "Did you guys notice Skeletor in the movie Boss Baby from DreamWorks?" And he says, "Are DreamWorks planning to do any show with Masters of the Universe?" As for that, I doubt it. As for Boss Baby, I never heard of the movie until he said I had to Google it. So no, I didn't know about him in there. But I mean, it's a good question. I guess we'll have to Google and see if they pop up something of Skeletor and Boss Baby. What about you, Tyler?
I wasn't aware that he was featured in that movie, but I know DreamWorks said I think they had the animation rights. I think to do He-Man and I think even She-Ra. I think was like the last thing they announced. But I've heard He-Man and being attached to DreamWorks before, and I was kind of like, all right, well that sounds kind of all right. They don't. I mean, Pixar makes better movies than DreamWorks, at least when it comes to like animated movies and stuff like that. But not all the Pixar stuff is great either. But it's better hands than Sony. So I would I'd have to wait and see. And see what they would do. I kind of feel like they would probably make it a little too silly and cotton candy and bubble gum and light and fluffy style. I feel like this is a property that can't be dumbed down and, as Jack Nicholson says, brighten it up for the kids. It's set, it's ready to go. It does not need to be tampered with or toned down or upped. You don't need to make it ultra violent, but you don't need to make it, super 4-H club, Boy Scouts singing, songs around the campfire kind of mentality here. Not knocking the Boy Scouts and 4-H club, but you know what I'm saying.
There's always a good middle ground. I know what you mean.
I mean, it's already there. The middle ground is there. There's certain episodes of Filmation that show that, many comics and various other canons and books that show exactly what you need to go for. So, but
it could be done right if they want to. It could be done right.
Yeah.
All right, well, my last question from on this page it's actually kind of like a topic and something else. It's from Tobias Barron. He said his topic: Dark Horse should release a book about the German audio play. He said 2 weeks ago he listened to it on YouTube, to the Anti-Eternia one. He said it was good to get in touch with audio plays. He said he owned many of the cassettes as a child. A book with a complete depiction of the audio play would be really, really awesome, he said. He said, one very interesting thing in the audio play is the late success of Skeletor. Yes, he became the King of Eternia. So I didn't know that, and I thank you for saying that, Tobias. And yes, it would be great if somehow Dark Horse somehow gave the audio plays, whether it was translated, if they even drew stories to go along with it, or in some capacity. I would love to know it because I'd love to hear them translated because, I don't speak German, and if I'm listening to what they're saying, I'm going to be clueless on YouTube. I'd love translated ones in some capacity. I don't know, text along with comics or just text. I don't know. I think that would be cool to see.
I'd be all about that. I'd love to have some of my favorite artists, illustrate those stories so that way the rest of us, can see what the German fans have just been overjoyed with. That's part of their and that's an interesting part about the German fan community are those audiobooks. And
oh yeah,
I would love to see the audio brought to life with a variety of illustrations from some choice artists that I mentioned before. I'm not going to mention again. Don't want to become too much of a publicist for those guys.
Well, hey, I mean, you get Karsten Clinch. I mean, he could definitely do it. I mean, he would know those.
Yeah, well, I mean, Karsten's from Germany too, so I mean, yeah. Karsten could do it. I mean, because he's done some beautiful artwork. And Karsten, damn it, where are the rest of those pages for the mini comic?
He'll get you.
I'm saying it live here, and I haven't got any more updates, man. Karsten, you're killing me here, man. I want to see this mini comic come to fruition here. But,
he's gonna.
Yes, there's a lot of good people that could do it, but I want it done to where it's gonna be for everybody and not just tampered with or changed or altered or done to placate, oh, look at this. I'm trying to avoid saying some could stir up trouble here.
All right. Well, you're not going to stir trouble.
But
so.
point being, this needs to be done. I could not agree more with this idea. It needs to be done.
No doubt. All right. Well, I was going to say, I didn't know if you had some more questions before.
I got 2 more questions, and I'm all wrapped up.
All right. I'll let you end with yours because I'm going to do one more coming from the live chat, and it's from JSP. He said, "What would be your top 3 '80s toy lines?" He said, obviously, Masters is number 1 with him. Then, or Masters Universe. He said, but his are not in this order. He said, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers. Those usually are pretty much the main things I hear people say. But as for me, there was only 3 toy lines I did collect. Masters was the main one, and there was 2 others that I got bits and pieces because we couldn't afford, to have 3 lines. But when I could get other figures, I'd get a Thundercat here and there, and I got a Sectar. I love those Sectars. They were so ahead of their time in sculpt and articulation for their size, and with those puppet beasts and everything, and the little creatures they had with a little feature, whether it was one that had like something that shoot out like a rope, one that would like bite. I love the Sectar. So underrated. God, if there's any toy line I'd love to see make a comeback, it'd have to be Sectars. But as for my 3 top toys back then, Masters of the Universe, Thundercats, Sectars.
Oh, dear God, I'm such an '80s toy enthusiast here, and this is. I mean, He-Man's always like top of the list, but as for the other 3, Thundercats, G.I. Joe. Oh dear God, I mean, and as a kid too, I wanted more of these. Like they have more of an influence on me. Because I wanted more. I would have samples of a lot of these toy lines. I mean, if I had to pick an absolute third one, but then again, too, Turtles started in the '80s too, and Turtles was a humongous part of my childhood. So I'm probably gonna have to go with Turtles just because of the impact. Those 3, along with He-Man, had a tremendous impact. But just so I can verbally state the others, I mean, Silverhawks, Dino Riders, Brave Star.
Oh, sure, there's plenty of them.
Bionic 6, all those. I just, anytime I get an opportunity to praise the hell out of some of these other toy lines, I love to do that. But the top 3, I'm not going to count He-Man because this is obviously why we're Thundercats, G.I. Joe, and Turtles. Not in that order, but Thundercats.
You can count He-Man. That's what it is. The question is, what are our 3?
All right, fine. All right, He-Man's number 1. Thundercats. God.
Yeah, you're going to be put on the fence for the 3rd. It's between Turtles and what did you say, G.I. Joe? I love putting them on the spot.
God.
JSP, you don't know how much I love doing this to Tyler. I love making him be decisive.
All right. I'm just gonna say Turtles.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's your 3rd. All right. Well, thank you, JSP.
Yeah. Turtles.
All right. Well, now back to you, Tyler. You got 2 more questions. What are they?
Yes. The first of the last 2 is from Eric Amon, and he wants to know: has anyone ever released a Chelsea Field Tila? And I'll let Joe take a shot at that one, and then I'll respond with mine.
Well, coming from my end, from being a customizer, I've never seen one. Not saying there hasn't been any that people done, and I'm sure there's maybe been repaints, but as for actually sculpting the outfit to look like her from the movie, I've never seen a custom done like that. I've never done one. As for obviously being officially released, it's never happened, but I've never recalled seeing anybody do a custom for Chelsea Fields as Tila. Would be an awesome figure, though. I'd even love to work on one eventually, but I honestly have never seen one.
No. The rights are still locked up. Super 7 knows the guy who's got the rights, so until they sweet talk that guy who's pissed off at Mattel for whatever happened years ago, we won't get an official Chelsea Fields style Tila. And I want to say maybe somebody had done a Tila at some point somewhere. It wasn't that memorable, but I want to say I thought somebody over the years on the internet had done a custom of it. But no.
Yeah.
And to answer the question, no, nobody has done that because it's not licensed to do anything from the movie aside from Blade, Sauron, and Gwildor.
Yeah. I'm sure like somewhere
And
out there a custom one exists. I'm sure there's been one, but I've
oh yeah, I'm sure somebody, because someone's done a custom version of tons of the characters that are in the movie, from Ludwig to
Man at Arms, Beast Man. Yeah, I've seen
Man at
them all.
Arms, and they've been done. I mean, but it's just probably not as well known.
Okay.
And our last question comes from our contest winner, Larry Hubbard.
Larry Hubbard.
With our Motu Ultimate figures stuck on a boat awaiting custom checks, which are going through some type of strike currently, would you be upset to see Super 7 magically pull a bunch out of thin air and sell them at San Diego before fans who paid for them last year got theirs? If I got a tracking number confirmation that made my figures where, or let him know where they were at least in the mail, or let him know that they were in the mail at least, he would be okay with it. If not, it would feel like a smack in the face, and I'm wearing my modular mask, so I don't take kindly to messing up my mask.
Don't be messing up the mask. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con. I don't know if the companies usually put out stuff like that haven't came out for sale. I can't picture them doing it. I don't know if they'd have any at their celebration. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I mean, if it happened, hey, more power to anybody that can get their hands on them. I mean, I know there's people have been upset with like the delays and what's going on.
Well, yeah, and well, obviously, everybody that pre-ordered those things back in 2016, you're waiting what 6 months? This is 6 months or more.
It's been a while. I mean,
it's been a long time since you actually got information as to when everybody was going to get them, let alone actually get them in hand. So for people to not have pre-ordered them, show up to San Diego and get them without having to pay shipping charges and all the waiting and stuff like that, yes, it'd be quite insulting to people. But give Super 7 the benefit of the doubt that they're not going to pull that stunt, and that San Diego is going to be used to promote the next wave of classic figures for both Grayskull and the Collector's Choice.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming.
And whatever new merchandise they've got. I'd like to think that if they had them any sooner, that the fans would have them a lot sooner as well. So I understand why people are quite frustrated, having to wait that long. We may end up having to wait even longer to get our actual subs that, that we've pre-ordered for already, just because we told we're going to get them in October. It could be 3 or 4 month delay. We have no idea. So it could be a trend. It could be just a simple goof with Super 7 getting things off the ground and getting the ball rolling with their current production that they've got going. So until next week comes and goes, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But yes, I agree. That would be quite a kick in the balls for people who waited, paid their money up front, supported it, and then don't get theirs before people who just walk around. Oh, look, I'll buy this. I got the money here. Don't have to pay shipping. Didn't have to wait. And then go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and show everybody what they got and didn't have to wait. Yes, it'd be quite upsetting.
And then the rage posts would ensue. So, yeah. But, no, all right. Well, thank you for that, Larry. Appreciate it. And, well, that wraps up all the questions, all the fan appreciation. Like I said, we wanted to cover, everything that you guys asked us. Hope you obviously, and enjoyed what we said back to you. We tried to cover it all. We appreciate you guys, doing this, and because that's all the show. Like we've said a million times, that's what the show's about. The show is just, it's about the fans. Not only us, me and Tyler being fans of Power, but it's everybody that listens. That's what the show. That's what it means. Fans of Power is everybody, us and you, and we just.
Yeah, we like to think that this is a podcast that's meant for people who like a lot of things about He-Man, that they want to hear meaty discussions and thoughts and theories, and not just sharing memories and talking about the new stuff. It's what you go to the internet to look for. You're looking for pictures. You're looking for to hear what other people are saying. You're looking at the artwork and what it get. I'm getting so damn tongue tied here. We just want to provide what I feel like has not been done before, and that's talk about everything in depth, because that's what fans do on the internet. They're talking in depth. They want to see more and talk about more and learn more. And
you know what?
Everybody's question. Go ahead.
No, that's what I find from, like I said, what we do. This is the reason I really like it. Is it's usually there's not arguments and misunderstandings. Meaning, sometimes you might post something online and somebody doesn't get the gist of what you say because you're not speaking to them, so they might not get the tone you're saying. So if they read something, they might not take it the right way. You see people argue. But what's fun is when we're speaking like this, answering questions, or just you and I, you and I talking. I think people get a better sense of what's being talked about and explained, and just trying to get your point across a little better. That's why it's fun to speak doing it like this, and you don't see it
Yeah.
too often. Like I said, yeah, it's a lot of posts online, but sometimes there's always just heated arguments. And I tell you, if sometimes you just talk with somebody, it seems like any of the misunderstandings that you read could so much be, it's better spoken. So that's why it's great. I love this forum, this platform to speak with everybody and to share our thoughts, hear what they have to say, and just keep going back and forth. Like, that it just, again, it is a passion. It's almost like what JSP just says. That's what passion is. You're right. We've always said that. We've always talked about how passionate we try to be on this show, because there's just so much you want to say, and you just, like I said, again, you can't get across with typing. I'm a talker, Tyler's a talker. You can both hear it, how when we're speaking, a lot of times we'll cut each other off, but it's our passion. We just want.
Yeah, we don't want to do this as some sort of round table. We're like, okay, you take a turn. Okay, you take a turn. Okay, like, I mean, this is if we were doing like some sort of TV special, like where we're, hello, I'm Tyler Baker. I'm your, and I'm here with Joe Mata. Here, today we're talking. It's almost like one of those political shows where people are knocking the hell out of each other with their words, arguing about their point of views and stuff like that. I mean, if we could do like a PBS, TV show where me and Joe are sitting on a small stage in a small studio, lit, and we're sitting across from each other. We have like a moderator, or almost like First Take on ESPN, where you get Stephen A. Smith arguing with Max Kellerman, getting all pissed off and stuff. That would be great to do that too. But the point is, like, we just want to emphasize. I've completely lost my train of thought.
Where the hell was I?
I've lost my train of thought. But we just want to emphasize, plus if every question we answer, if you disagree with us, feel free to tell us what you think. If you didn't like our answer, you are more than entitled.
Exactly. I'm not right. Tyler's not right.
Like what I said, what Joe said, you disagree. You have every right to do that. I don't want to, because we are not the, we do not claim to be the know-it-alls, that our word means everything. What we say goes. We want to obliterate that kind of mentality.
I want people to disagree with me. That's why it's great to have different opinions. I don't ever expect people to always agree with me and I'm always right. No, you're right. If you don't like what I said, tell me that. I'm not going to get upset. Tyler's not going to get upset. And again, that's why it is good when it's with spoken words. Like I said, if me and Tyler were to type out what we just did in the show, you would be reading thousands and thousands of comments. That's why it's good. I love this ability to speak and have everybody here, because you can just get it across quicker, and you, like I said, you get the feel, you get the sense of what we're saying in our tone. So that's why I love this show, and I just love it. Like, we've been doing this 89 weeks straight, and we'll just keep on going and going like the old Energizer Bunny.
And if you got more questions, send them in to us. It doesn't just have to be, I'm sure I'd love for us to do this again. This went, well. So, but if you have a question you want to send in to us, send it to us on Facebook, through Messenger or Joe. I don't do Twitter. Joe does Twitter. Send it to him on there. Our producer, Doug. We have a voicemail that nobody has used and God knows how long, that you can call us and leave us a voicemail. We can play it on the downloadable podcast. Or maybe even live here on YouTube. I'm not sure. I've talked to Doug about that, but we want to encourage more interaction. If people send us stuff, we'll make sure it gets read instantly. It's not going to go on the back burner. If you have something you want to send to us, tell us. Send us. This is your show as well. This is not just our Joe's and mine's platform here for us to stroke our egos about what we think about Master of the Universe. So we want this to be the fan podcast, one that emphasizes interaction and gets everybody's thoughts out there. We'll share it. We may not agree with it. You may not agree with us, but it's keeping everybody connected here when it comes to thoughts about He-Man and She-Ra and everything in between.
There you go. All right. Well, again, thank you for all your questions and joining us this week. Before we sign off, Tyler, did you want to recommend anything to the fans? You just want to tell them to get ready for San Diego Comic-Con? You have a mini comic you want to say? Or what you got real quick?
You know what? I really don't have I try to think about that.
Hey, if you don't, you don't.
Probably got to feel like at this point, I probably, recommended, I mean, there's tons of stuff to recommend, but you know what? I'm not going to do one this week. I kind of feel like my recommendation this week is to, when you listen to this or you watch it, go grab your favorite episode of He-Man or She-Ra and just go watch that. That's my recommendation. Watch the first one that comes to mind. If it's some random episode from season 2 that you just popped up in your head, go watch it. See if it still holds up. See if it sucks. See if it's better than, or it was always good. That's my recommendation, is just to go watch your favorite episode. Check out the Fans of Axel His Facebook page. Check out Kevin Sharp's Facebook page. He's got a Kickstarter going on right now. He's done some beautiful artwork for He-Man, and he's got a Kickstarter going on. He's working on. So if you like his artwork, check out his Kickstarter and get that going. And I guess other than that, really don't have any. And that's just kind of off the top of my head kind of stuff.
All right.
I just had fun answering everybody's questions. I want to thank everybody that sent the questions to us there. We thank everybody for taking the time to do that. And if you didn't get it in for this one, send it to us and we'll read it on the next podcast. When you send it to us, we'll read it on the following podcast. We can guarantee that for the most part.
Yeah, this was a longer episode. It was about an hour and 40 minutes. We went longer than normal, but you know what? It was well worth it to answer all the questions and share.
That was fun.
It was. So, well, as for me, I just want to let you know, definitely get ready for this weekend or this coming week at, towards the middle end. You got San Diego Comic-Con. Well, I'm sure we'll have some good stuff to be talking about next week as for new reveals and things and other stuff also. And I'm just going to always say, go to fansofpower.com, go to popculturenetwork.com, go to hemanworld.com, and on Facebook, go to Masters of the Universe He-Man and She-Ra Ultimate Fan Group. All great places, all great people. So until next time, have a powerful day.
I've got to return some videotapes.
You can't be stumping me again. I can't be stumped again. Can you give me a hint?
Christian Bale says it.
God, I don't know. What is it? I'm stumped 5 weeks in a row. What is
American Psycho.
Oh, God. You know what? A movie I've never seen. Sorry. There you go. Joe did not.
Well, that's part of my gimmick, is to pull out movie quotes that most people are not going to get unless, I'm not going to be quoting, the cliche movie quotes. I'm not going to be quoting, I could quote Star Wars and get a little obscure with it, but I don't quoting. I mean, that's what makes it good, is if, Joe knows that line. He knows that movie.
You got me again.
Well, I mean, hell, I threw out a quote from Friday the 13th Part 3 and you didn't get it.
Thanks. I'm glad you rubbed that in. So, all right. Well, see you guys next week.
All right. Later.